You're listening to the Manage My Home podcast, the podcast for property owners who would like help with their rental properties. This show is based on the RPM WV Phoenix team's experience in leasing and managing homes and will give you useful advice and tips to succeed with your rental property. And now, from Phoenix, Arizona, here is Lisa from RPM WV
Happy
Phoenix.
New Year and welcome to Manage My Home. This is Lisa with Real Property Management, Phoenix Valley. Today we're going to be talking about mid-year inspections. Super important to be done so that you can help to preserve the asset. We're going to be going over several tips that we have and also referring to this inspection report that you see on the screen. So the first thing with the inspection is you want to make sure you prepare before you get to the property. What's included with that is to review your lease, make notes as to how many occupants are supposed to be in the home, how many adults, how many minors, if there's supposed to be pets. Also, who's responsible for what? Is the tenant responsible for the landscaping? Who's responsible for smoke detector batteries, air filters? It's good to have all this information with you so that when you get to the property, you know what you're looking for. The other thing we recommend is if you're going to be completing the inspection and the tenant is present, I know this is going to sound strange, but we suggest that you wear headphones. Only because the tenants can be very distracting for you as you go through, and they can end up making so you might miss things that have been damaged because they're there and they're talking to you and they're telling you how everything was that way when they moved in. So our recommendation if the tenant's going to be there is that you wear headphones, when you go in this way you can really focus on the inspection itself. Next, we always recommend that you actually use an inspection form. This will keep you organized and it will let you know specifically what to look for. And so what we've done is on our screen here is we have the inspection report that we use here at Real Property Management Phoenix Valley. We're not going to go through the whole thing, but we're going to go through the first page just so we can show you how detailed we suggest that it is. We also suggest that you do room by room. So what I mean by that, for example, is start in the front yard, write down your notes. We have landscaping, the gates, the sprinklers. This is a big one with the sprinkler timers. We often find that they aren't set or the batteries are bad, which obviously could cause the landscaping to die. But we suggest writing down all your notes for the front yard and then stopping to take the pictures. And doing the same with the entry and the same with the living. Sometimes you'll write down your notes and then you'll catch something in a picture. And then this way you can always go back, once you're at home and you could update your notes on the property. So just some key things and just to kind of show you here to break down with the living room, we get really detailed. You want to make sure that you're looking at the doors. When we mention this, you want to make sure that you check the back of the door, not just the front. And then also when you're checking the back of the door, you can see the walls to see if there's a hole or anything in the wall that's behind the door. With the flooring and the baseboards, our tip there is to make sure that you move back any throw rugs, because you'd be amazed at what kind of stains those throw rugs can be hiding. So not that you need to move the whole throw rug, but we recommend, if you can flip like a half of it up or a quarter of it up, just so you can kind of see what the carpet looks like under there. Window coverings, we suggest that you go over and you try to actually open the window coverings just so you can see if there's any blind slats broken, if the wand isn't working. Windows and locks, that's another big one too. It's good to actually get up to the window because you may miss a broken window if you're not up close, like if you're just looking from far away and taking a picture. So that's kind of the tip with that. Light fixtures, we always turn on every light, every fan, just to see if there's any kind of issue. Also, good tip on that one, just make sure you're looking up to the ceiling and you're looking at where the ceiling fan connects to the ceiling to make sure it's not dangling or there's any wires that you need to take care of. And while you're looking at that ceiling, it's very important to look at the entire ceiling because that is a good way to look for leaks. roof leaks, AC condenser leaks. Sometimes a tenant may not notice it if it's small. So that's why it's really important when you go in to do the inspection that you're really looking at all of those ceilings. And then noting the paint color and the condition. This is a big one too, because you may catch a tenant who's decided to repaint. And not all tenants' repainting skills are the best. So it's good to note for each room the paint color and the condition. And then I'll just flip over here just so you can see some of the with the kitchen, back to the kitchen, look at all the appliances inside and out, with the microwave, not only inside, but check the door, check the outside frame to see if there's any cracks, if the handles may be broken, run the disposal, make sure nothing is caught in there, double check your sinks and your faucets to make sure that they aren't leaking. We'll oftentimes also just open the cabinets underneath the sink just to see if there's any visible sign of a leak. And then with the bedrooms, we're looking at the doors, the flooring, all of that. Also the smoke detectors, if you're able to reach, that's great to check them. If not, look for that green light to make sure that batteries maybe don't need to be changed. Another big one is to take a look at the air filter just to see if that needs to be changed at all. Also in the bedrooms, we note the closets, the doors, and the tracks. So the important thing to do with the closet is take a quick peek, because this is how you can sometimes catch if an unauthorized occupant's residing in the home, by the type of clothes that are in the closet compared to who the occupants are on the lease. So again, just, you don't have to spend a lot of time in there, but just to look real quick in there, and then also to take a look at the ceiling, because that would be a place that a tenant definitely may not notice if there's a leak. So that's important as well. And then in the garage, we go in the garage, of course, as well. A thing to look for in the garage, besides checking the garage door to make sure that it's open, also to make sure it's not bent in any way, looking at the driveway, the windows, the lights, but also look for any type of pet items, because we have often caught crates in the garage, for a tenant who's not supposed to have any pets, but yet, strangely enough, there's a crate in the garage. So that's a good thing to look for, and also look for possible pet toys in the garage. And then another thing with the pets is when you go to the backyard to do the backyard, make sure you're looking in that landscaping for any kind of feces, dog or cat, because oftentimes if a tenant is hiding a pet, they'll try to pick everything up, but it's possible that that won't happen. So again, a couple takeaways from here. One thing, make sure you're prepared before you go in the home so that you kind of know what should and shouldn't be there. Always use an inspection form. Make sure that you're checking your ceilings, because you definitely want to be sure if there's any type of a leak, you see that before rather than later. And then also just make sure that you're taking your time as you go through and that you're not distracted. So thanks very much for joining us. We hope you found this podcast helpful, and join us next month.